Hey everyone, I'm going to do a quick disassemble video. Maybe it won't be quick, I don't know, but all you need is a screwdriver. This is a Phillips head. And here we've got the Gigabyte GA-7TESM with, dual X5687, Arctic 12 coolers, and a Gigabyte 980 Ti water-cooled with the NTX Kraken G12, Corsair H55 radiator, and then in the front, which you can't see because I'm on a tripod and the camera will just be fixed for this video, we've got 3 120 Arctic fans, 2 80mm Arctic fans in the back, an EVGA 850BQ power supply. There's one hard drive in right now, a couple Sata cables and SAS cables that are pre-wired for future drives, but let's see what else we have. Excuse me. We have 2 gig 6 of DDR3. Basically what I'm going to do is, I don't know how long this is going to take, hopefully not that long. I'm going to swap out this board for the GA-7TESM, and I'm going to put dual E5 2620s in there with the EVGA CLC water coolers. So that will probably be in a follow-up video shortly after this, but I'm just going to do a quick camera test, make sure everything's set up right, and just disassemble this and go over how to do that. So if you want to learn how to build it, maybe just watch this video in reverse or something like that. But it's not too hard. So honestly, I think the easiest thing for us to do first would be, you know what, I'm going to keep the power supply in, and hard drives don't need to go anywhere, fans don't need to go anywhere yet. So we're going to do the CPU heatsinks first, and that'll help us get the board out of the case a little bit easier, and get to some of the screws that are down in. So I think the first thing we need to do is remove these heatsink fans, and you just kind of pull on the plastic bracket on the side of the fan. And I've got mine wired underneath the heatsink, so gotta be a little careful with the wire. Alright, there's one. There's another one. You know what? I am going to use this board for something else, so I do need to take the heat sinks off. I was considering not taking them off. But yeah, so it's just 4 screws, the opposite of mounting them. It's the easiest way to get them off. Sorry if you can't see a whole lot from the camera angle, but I will review this footage after and see if I can improve it for the next video. Alright, there's our 4 screws. We're just going to lift this guy straight up. I'll set it aside for now. Alrighty, so here we've got our motherboard. RAM can wait until we take the board out. I think the next big thing we gotta do is the GPU. So the way I have it set up right now is that there's a 120 in the front on the right side of the fan wall, and on the left side we have the 120 radiator, and that was really the only way that it would fit without causing any issues. There's maybe about a 3 or 4 millimeter gap between the RAM slots and the radiator in this case. It works great. There's no jankiness going on with the mounting or anything like that. But we have the long screws going through and then mounting right to the radiator. And this setup just works great. I did some testing, and hopefully I can share that with you guys soon in the future. I really like water cooling options in this case. They're actually not too bad. What I did have to do, and I'll show you that in a second, I had to bend these tabs out of the way, and you can either clip them or bend them. I think it's just easier to bend them. These are easy enough to bend with just my finger. And yeah, so we just had to bend these out of the way, and then I can mount the radiator up to that. And hopefully we will be able to mount both of the water coolers in here for the next build. So what I think we have to do is we take the fan wall off before we start unmounting the GPU, just so that this is stable and in place. And then we'll undo the 4 screws here, pull the radiator off, and then pull the GPU out. And it shouldn't be too hard. So if you guys have flipped the fan wall already, this is another reason to flip the fan wall. This is the flipped configuration where the grill is on the back side of the fan and the fan's on this side. Part of the reason that it would be helpful is that in a water cooling situation, you get much better airflow for the radiators in this configuration. And like I said, I've said this before, but there's enough room here between the drive and the fan where cables can go, and you don't have to worry about them getting caught in the fan. But anyway, to take the fan wall off, there's screws on the side of the case on both sides. There's 2 beveled silver screws, and we'll go ahead and take those out. And if you have a magnetic parts tray, this would be a good time to use it, because we're going to be disassembling a lot of different screws, and so it's a good idea to keep track of where each one goes. Can't seem to find my short Phillips head, so forgive me for a second as I move the camera. I'm just unscrewing the other side of the fan wall. Alright, let's see if I can get it back in position. We in focus. Okay. Alright, so you can see the fan wall is already kind of moved out of the way. Now, the tricky part is, let's see, these are for the 2 back fans. You gotta make sure that the fan wires aren't going to get stuck. So you kind of have to rotate the fan wall a little bit and then pull it. I don't exactly remember how I did this. There we go. But before we do that, these PCI Express cables are in the way, so let's get these guys unplugged. You never want to rush anything if you can avoid it. Set these aside, we'll be using them later. So you can see all of our fan leads, and what we're going to do is just hold the fan wall kind of like this and undo all the fan leads. So I had most of them daisy chained it together, but not a big deal. We've got one for the pump and one for the 80mm fan that's on the GPU, and I just unplugged those. So with the GPU mount, you can see the screws are a little different. There's 4 screws on the front side of this. And what they do is they screw through the fan and then into the radiator. So I think we're going to be using the Arctic fans for the CLC 120s as well, just because I like consistency and I know how the Arctic fans perform. On the last screw, you're going to want to support the radiator. You don't want it falling and damaging anything down there. You do have to be a little careful with water cooling. I try not to put strain or stress on the tubing as much as possible. Honestly, they're not like fragile or anything, but you do want to be careful because cleaning up water and playing with that kind of stuff it's not like the most fun thing in the world. Alright, so we got our GPU taken care of, and then we just got 2 screws back here with the PCI Express bracket holding it in. I don't believe there's a retention bracket for the PCI Express slot, so we can just pull this guy straight up. Careful of your fan wires again. There you go, the GPU's out. So the hard part's done. We're going to undo the fan leads for the 80mm fans in the back, kind of set them aside out of the way. And here we've got our front panel USB. Plug these guys, throw them in the front, power switch. We'll do the SATA first. If you have locking SATA cables, make sure to unlock them, push the little metal tab, and then pull them out that way. I think I'm just going to completely disconnect these SATA cables and pull them out, at least for right now. So we're left with a SAS cable and a 24-pin motherboard power and dual EPS, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standoffs, and that's it. So let's do the SAS cable. There's a locking metal piece on the end of the SAS cable, and you want to make sure that you push this down all the way. You want to make sure you push this locking portion down all the way, otherwise it's not going to unlock properly, and then you might damage it and pull the SAS port off the board, which is not a good thing to do and will permanently damage your board. So just be careful, take your time with everything. It doesn't take too long, and you'll be fine. So we'll do the little SAS, or not SAS, EPS connectors first. the plastic latch on each of these cables, and you can pull the latch and kind of wiggle them side to side like this and pull up gently. And so you might notice, and some of you might comment on how the thermal paste is not equally spreaded around the processor. And I've been doing this for a long time, and what I found is that despite how it looks, this is an adequate application of thermal paste. This is GC Extreme with the Arctic Freezer 12s, and these are very, very hot processors. I think they're like 115 or 130 TDP. I could be wrong. You might want to check the CPU comparison spreadsheet for that information, but they run pretty hot, and they're 3.86 gigahertz at turbo. And I didn't have any temp problems with this. I was using this rig for gaming. I was using it for synthetic load testing for power supplies, and at 100% synthetic load I wasn't even hitting 65 Celsius, and then the fans would kick on and boost it down to 55 Celsius with the fans on. And honestly, if you put an adequate amount of thermal paste and then you mount the cooler properly, it'll spread out the way it needs to. So just after you mount them, check your temps, run some benchmarks, see how things go, and if everything works fine, then don't worry about it, just use it. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. The way the thermal paste looks, don't worry about it. Just what matters is the results. So all we have to do is the 9 screws for the standoffs, and then we'll pull this board out. And I'll probably end this video and upload it really quick. That way you guys have something to watch, and I'll start on the next part. Having a screwdriver this long, I mean, this is my favorite screwdriver. I've had this for about 2 years now. Having a screwdriver this long is really handy, but it's also kind of a pain. So I would have a short one and a long one, but the long one's super nice. Just, I mean, as you can see, my hand's not really bumping into the case. And the longer it is, the more room that you have to sort of be off axis with it. And plus, if I'm making a video, I don't need to shove my hand in the case and get in the way of the camera as much. Although I'm sure my hands are still blocking something, but I really, really like this screwdriver. And I got this one, I don't know if you can see it, it's a Thermalright screwdriver. It came with a heatsink because the heatsink, I needed to go past the whole heatsink. It basically went down through the center of the heatsink, and then you had to screw something in. But it turns out they make really nice screwdrivers, so I've had this for a little over 2 years, and it's magnetic, and I mean, it's super nice. I wish I could buy this. Maybe I can, I don't know. Oops. I just lost a screw underneath the power supply. We'll get that in a second. Alright, so we got, let's see, we got all, nope, we missed a standoff. If the board doesn't come up, just be very careful and lift it up gently, and you'll figure out where the standoff you missed is. So typically, if you have an I/O shield, you want to lift from this side of the board and then pull out. But we don't have an I/O shield, which is not a big deal. So that's it. There's the board, and I love this motherboard. This motherboard's super awesome, especially for the price. So those of you out there that have gotten it, enjoy it. It's a really, really awesome board. Let me grab that screw before I end this video. There it is. Alright, so that just about covers it for this video. And I just kind of wanted to show you my process for building and unbuilding, because I do it all the time. It's not, like I said, it's not super complicated. Be patient, take your time. And this video's only been about 21 minutes. I could have done this in about 15 minutes if I wasn't on camera. Once you get in the habit of doing things the right way, and like I said, taking your time, doing things in the correct order, it makes it a lot easier for yourself. So I don't have a problem building and unbuilding all the time. But it's fun. It's a good thing to practice. It's a good thing to know your server in and out. If you have any questions, hit me up on Reddit or Discord. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be very shortly.